Okay, we are doing episode 5 at CIMBC 22. I say episode 5. I'm not sure what number this is in the Mining Now series, but we're doing 10 episodes here live at the show. Our next guest is going to be Nick Ponto. He's the associate partner engineering and mining associate partner of engineering and mining at IBM. Nick, welcome to the show. Great to have you on.
Great, thanks for having me. Excited to be here at the show.
IBM, when I was getting my list of guests, because we booked some of them and CIM helped us, brought us some people, IBM being one of them. I wasn't expecting to see IBM, to be honest. And I want to actually kick off the show by going right down the middle. Is what brings you here? What is IBM's focus right now, being at an event like CIM?
Okay, so right off the bat, I think when I think of IBM, I'll say prior to coming to IBM 2.5 years ago, I would not have associated IBM with mining. So I think that's a normal assumption. I think really what I'm kind of here to talk about is, we're not your parents or your grandparents' IBM, but actually looking at, we're not selling mainframes and laptop computers the same way we were historically. We still have a technology practice, which was spun off as Kyndryl in 2021, but really we're doubling down on AI hybrid cloud solutions and actually trying to bring value to our mining clients the same way that we've been able to do it within maybe the oil and gas or manufacturing industry, and really actually double down in that technology space and how we can work with the businesses to provide value.
What's your background? You come out of, what sector do you come out of originally?
So my background is actually in mining engineering. So I spent 20 years in mining engineering, looking at the development and operations of mining sites, primarily focused in Western Canada. But I mean, really why I kind of, moved into IBM is I found more and more requirements for moving into leveraging technology, advanced analytics, and how they can solve mining challenges. And I would say a couple of years prior to coming to IBM, we started seeing a lot of these manual tasks, I'll just say preparing a mine plan. Right. I remember working on, like a 3-foot by 3-foot Mylar sheet, doing block scheduling, and then doing it on Excel. And actually that was our mine planning process with 2, big 19-inch CRT monitors as everyone's sweating in there, like doing mine planning. And then, come 15 years later, we have auto schedulers, right? So you start to see the value that technology can bring within the mining space, and then how you actually can, find new solutions, maybe not just off the shelf, but I had challenges with regards to bench planning. We had a full-time person whose sole role was doing bench planning, a highly manual task. And ultimately we were able to build a script that did that work in 15 minutes. Don't want to oversell that. There's a lot of QA, QC, and work in terms of developing it, but you really start to see how you can leverage technology and remove a lot of these manual ways of working and actually provide step changes within the industry. We've got the Toyota way, lean operations, continuous improvement, but really there's still a big opportunity, I think, in terms of step changes, in terms of how the mining industry can change.
Alrighty, and now a moment to thank our sponsors. First up, we've got Fenner Dunlop. Fenner Dunlop US-Flex belts are engineered to withstand the harshest applications, delivering benefits that solve customer problems via superior rip, tear, and impact resistance. US-Flex are extremely strong and robust belts that are difficult to destroy, which is important for heavy-duty bulk material handling environments. Made in their own North American manufacturing facilities, this revolutionary concept in straight warp conveyor belting is up to 3 times more impact resistant versus competitor belting. US-Flex users use fewer belts per year, make fewer belt repairs and replacements, reduce or eliminate belt downtime, and improve employee safety. Visit FennerDunlopAmericas.com to learn more about their premium US-Flex conveyor belting. Next up, we have Cal Tire Mining Tire Group. As a partner focused on helping customers improve ESG, safety, productivity, and tire performance, Cal Tire's Mining Tire Group provides innovative solutions at every stage of a tire's life, including retreading, ultra repair, thermal conversion OTR tire recycling, and a MAPLE program for carbon emissions reporting. Their award-winning tire management tools boost safety, while TOMS, a proprietary tire maintenance planning tool, elevates fleet use. Learn more at caltiremining.com. Next up, we also have Savannah Equipment. Savannah Equipment supplies new and used mining equipment around the world, from placer to underground to ore processing plants. They have gold concentrating tables, trommels, and mineral jigs in stock now to take advantage of the high gold prices. You can visit them at savannahequipment.com, where you will find more equipment every day. And we also have General Kinematics. Revolutionize the way you think about screening with General Kinematics STM Screen 2-mass vibratory screen. Using General Kinematics proven 2-mass technology, this innovative screen is capable of handling increased capacities by up to 40%. With 2-mass natural frequency, load surges are no longer a problem. The load responsive design increases retention time, working the material longer, which increases screening efficiency. All these features combine to provide the most efficient, longest lasting, and lowest cost of ownership screen in the industry. General Kinematics STM Screen, screen smarter. Visit them at generalkinematics.com to learn more. And last but not least, OptiSize. OptiSize is a leading edge geophysical acquisition design and software company. OptiSize provides innovative seismic survey designs utilizing the latest field technology and optimizing for advanced processing and quantitative interpretation techniques. OptiSize's mission is to bring sustainable exploration solutions to energy development with their custom land footprint reduction technology, EcoSize. EcoSize enables operators to focus on reducing their environmental and greenhouse gas footprint while imaging all their subsurface targets and reducing costs. Please visit them at optisize.com to learn more. Now let's get back to the interview.
This is I'm really starting to become aware of this as I've been talking to more and more people, is expectation management. And you said about, something, a task that was heavily manual, step by step. Now it takes 15 minutes, but there's all that build up to getting it there. In your role now, do you deal with a lot of that? Is that part of your role? Is that expectation of what, obviously a lot of people know kind of what can be, it's pretty much endless what can be done now, but how we get there, that's where the value is.
Yeah. And I think really when I think about, those expectations or where you want to go, I think it really comes to my and IBM's approach is looking at what outcomes the mining clients and customers are actually looking for. Where do they want to get to? What are they trying to achieve? And then working with them to design a solution that meets those needs. I don't want to be walking around with a hammer looking for a nail. This is what you need. Every mine needs to do this, but actually understanding what their business challenges are and how we can actually bring value. And that may be working with, some of the other vendors that are on the floor with us here. I think we're really open to finding that best solution for the mining clients to meet their needs and drive that outcome.
How important do you think it is from your background coming, and maybe even touch on a little bit of sort of where you specialize in the mining space? How difficult would it be to sort of communicate the value add if you didn't have that background? I mean, I know it's a bit of a tricky question, but
yeah. So there's maybe kind of two parts to that. The first one I would think of is I was working on engagement about a year and a half ago, and it was an SAP opportunity, right? So SAP, very back office ERP heavy. We've got IBM has tens of thousands of people that are experts in SAP, but where really my value in terms of working as a mining engineer was being able to talk to the business and explain the business value that the business was going to realize, whether it was in the mine operations, their plant planning, or actually even looking at working with their commercial teams or their supply chain management teams. If we just had SAP folks having those conversations without industry experts like myself, it's not as, you don't get the buy-in from the client. And I think a lot of the work that I've been doing is really trying to get that client buy-in. And really, I think if you're coming at it just from the back office side, the business is going to be hesitant to accept what you're bringing. Yeah,
well, I mean, even for me, when we first talked, I was thinking, okay, are we talking? Am I talking to IBM? That's what I wasn't sure before we talked, and all of a sudden I realized, oh no, I'm keeping up with him on the mining side. Like, you've got the experience. Can you kind of lay out again? We'll circle back to a few different things and kind of zero in on them. So where is IBM on the mining side? Like, I'm through, you sent me sort of a nice slide, sort of outlines it. Where are they trying to fit in the mining space? What's the, not just the value, but from an operational standpoint, where are they looking?
So I think we're really focusing on six key areas of focus: integrated operations, looking at process optimization, maintenance, sustainability, commercial off-the-shelf solutions, or IBM proprietary solutions, as well as supply chain. So kind of those 6 areas are really where we're seeing within the mining industry that we have solutions that have been proven, and we can provide value to our client bases within that area.
Can you give examples? Can you pull out one or two of those 6s and say, okay, what is, I mean, I'm the furthest thing from understanding software, computers. Like I don't run all this stuff. So could you kind of walk me through pick out a couple of those and then walk us through what that actually is?
Sure. I think, and probably if you're at some of the talks here today, you're going to hear integrated operations. That's, kind of hot right now in terms of mining industry. Everyone wants to talk about it, but really all that we're looking at there is how you integrate your value chain, going from your mine to your mill, your logistics, and your port operations, how you actually bring that together. Mm-hmm. And when you're looking at, okay, where do I want to see business improvement? Well, you're going to want to look where you're going to realize the business improvement quickest, right? And that's going to be likely within your operational space. So how can you improve your operations to connect that entire value chain so that you don't have disparate KPIs between different areas of your business that are maybe in conflict? Like if you make an improvement to your processing plant, do you have the right ore to actually feed it? Or now you've increased your throughput, do you have the logistics and sales network actually in place to actually manage that entire value chain? So what we've been able to do with a number of clients is actually to build out solutions where we integrate that value chain, starting with that operations, but you can probably quickly ascertain that once you have that established operational value chain, well, you need to plan for that. You need to plan for success. So actually how you actually have integrated operations through the operational situational component, actually planning for that, and then actually having the post-mortem as you look at your reporting in terms of how well you actually performed, and pulling that all together. Honestly, that's kind of the excitement. And you hear the word digital twin. I'm always cautious in using that because it means too many different things, but it's really about how you bring your entire system so that you can have that single source of decision making along your driving your objectives.
Okay, the big question then for me becomes, when companies must, let's say they're not a client of yours, mm-hmm. and you're starting that process, they're interested in finding more about where you specialize and everything. That's the conversation's going. Are you trying to integrate? Are you trying to get them to switch the system that they're using? I mean, is it all the above? Sort of where are you entering the market at?
It's the yes and kind of to that. So really it's understanding what solutions you have in place, right? You may have some best of breed solutions that are currently in place. You may identify some gaps or applications that may need to be sunsetted. So really when I were to, start an engagement with the client, understanding what they're actually looking for. And, if we use this holistic integrated operations lens, what assets do they have currently in place? What assets do they want to bring online or scheduled? And actually where IBM can really flex its muscle, if you will, is the ability to be a system integrator, be able to create interoperability between these various systems and actually establish a data platform so that you can have those integrated decisions from a single data source. And that's really a differentiator, I think, is we're very open to working with other providers and vendors and stitching it together. Yes.
Like I've had conversations, they're just, the single stream technology is absolutely amazing. One question I'm always kind of on the edge, and I don't want to push it too hard because, obviously they don't, it's not their business. They don't have the answer, but they've got all these data sets for all these different, it's like, okay, but we got 10 different types of sensors and 10 different tracking systems. And so is IBM actually can they go into one of these large scale mine and go, okay, we're going to take all these different ways of collecting data and we're going to put them together?
So
it's beyond even asking that question. I don't even feel qualified to ask the questions. I don't know, but
it quickly comes to a boil the ocean problem, and it comes down to start small, build some early value within that space. And I can maybe give an example of one client that we actually worked with, where we built out a product where we actually their challenge was that they had 35 different plants. They had over 80,000 sensors, as you're alluding to, 100,000 asset tags, 700 plus employees working frontline. So the role of one of the operators was to ensure, the efficient operation of this plant.
Yeah.
Well, you can only imagine the different sensors and information you have coming at you real time. So how do you optimize a complex system like that? And that's where, we were able to start small, one plant at a time, integrating these systems where we were able to build a product that actually provided upset awareness, identified opportunities, and then also created optimization schedules based on various objective functions. And it's starting small.
Yeah.
It's a long process often, but really you can adjust and see how much value the solution is actually bringing. And then you can, once you get to that point of diminishing returns, you say, you know what, let's just move to a sustainment model on this right now. And let's move forward and see if there's other areas of the business that we can bring value.
Would 90% of those of your projects in the mining, would you be starting on a small, picking that area? And I was actually curious because I didn't know. I was thinking, well, if you're integrating into a system, I was kind of actually thinking you kind of got to go big or go home on that. But you're saying no, you actually can pick out a small part and put it together.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, there's often, when you think of machine learning models, AI models, things like flotation recovery, things that you have maybe decades of data actually going through and actually figuring out what reagent and what chemicals you should be looking at adding to maximize your recovery. That can be a small POC to you can determine whether or not you're seeing value on that, and then actually look at how you can expand that through your entire plant operation, right? So there's all different kinds of these small opportunities, and it's really, they're all great on their own, but you really have to be careful because you start cannibalizing value between them. Right. And that's the idea of kind of the whole IO lens, is how you actually make sure they're pulling on the same rope.
Yeah. You're coming to someone like, you're probably not coming to someone like me, but let's say it's someone who's not qualified to be in the position there, or are you talking to somebody, when you're talking to a mine, are you talking to someone that knows what they want, that knows what they need? And I guess that the second part of that question is the IBM consulting part. Are you coming in as a consultant first and really even figuring it out? Are you trying to identify maybe a problem that they don't even know? Do they know the problem that they have when they're talking to you?
I think it really comes down to understanding what business outcomes that they're looking for. Often they'll have already identified or ascertained within their business units, what pain points that they have.
Right. Okay.
And what we do is we work with them to understand, okay, is that a pain point? Is that a root cause? What is actually your problem that you need to address? So early on in engagements, it's conversations. It's trying to understand, is there something that, we can commonly work together to provide value? But you need to, work through some early working sessions to understand that. And often it's building out a POC and, within the technology space, fail fast. That's okay. Failing is a good outcome as long as you can learn it and build on that. And I think working with a lot of the clients that we're currently working with, they're beginning to understand that you're not just going to deliver a project at the end and here's what your defined outcome. It may take some iterations, and I think the mining industry is starting to move into the agile practices that have been used for so long in technology.
And I'm not talking. I wanted to ask about not is IBM capable? Not that type of challenge. When you're talking to a mine, what is a hesitancy that you're seeing? What is something that they go, we would like to do more of this. We realize that you're capable of it, but if you've been in any sort of business development role, you've heard some version of that. What would examples of those be?
Consultant fatigue. That's one thing I hear all the time. We've had enough consultants in here. We agree with what you want to do, but we just don't. We don't have the time right now. Right. We don't have the time. That's often one of the things that we hear, that we like the idea, we like where this could go. We don't have the time.
How honest you are.
When I came, that was kind of my thing. I'm going to be transparent, so I am who I am.
Well, as soon as I met you, I was like, they're good call on hiring you. Like when I was talking to you, I was like, this is a mining guy. He likes mining, and that's what it is. Though it's just we've heard it, we've heard a version of it, but we just can't, right?
Whether it's IBM, our competitors, everyone's selling and trying to get that business, right? And at some point, the operations, they've got a job to do. They need to deliver tons. They need to run efficient operations. They need to make sure everyone's safe. At some point, having this work on the side of the desk is just too much, and it takes away from the day-to-day operations. And you see organizations potentially will stand up a parallel team that will actually focus on some of these initiatives to take off some of the load from the day-to-day operational folks. And the other piece is maybe just on the mindset, right? Whether it be growth or fixed mindset, there's some hesitancy in terms of adopting technology. How can you trust the technology? They've probably seen many opportunities and solutions fail. So you don't have that confidence, like what certainty are you going to bring? And especially if something is going to be a 6-month, 12-month or longer engagement, this promised value is difficult to get behind.
And it's a fine line because I used to do a bit of consulting. I wasn't that great at it, to be honest, but I did a bit of it. And it's this fine line between, you've got to find this, and I'm curious if you're running into this, where if it's everything's going well, they don't want to disrupt it, even if they could improve and they know they could improve, or they're kind of behind the 8 ball and they just, again, it's like they're over, maybe not even consultant fatigue, it's internal fatigue, where they go, we're just not ready for this now. We got other problems that need to get fixed. So is it kind of finding that sweet spot, or who gives the green light? Is it the company that's doing well, that they can afford to do it, or is it the company that needs to do it?
It's a bit of both. I think when companies have money, they're looking to see where they can invest. And right now, technology is definitely a place where companies are investing. So there's a demand. I mean, when else has, coal price, copper price, gold price been at the levels they are right now? So companies are investing in technology, but the business is still expected to run, at the margins and the operating costs that they're currently running, and improve on that. And then you add, they're supposed to be supporting these other projects. It becomes very, very difficult in terms of how they actually manage their jobs on a day-to-day basis.
I mean, I think one of the things is, supply chain. I mean, that must just be a whole new level of demand right now.
Yeah, I think on the supply chain, there's a few different lenses maybe put on that. One is maybe even on the sustainability side, right? Like how can you demonstrate material traceability, that you're responsibly sourcing your materials? That's becoming more and more a focus. I think you heard at the plenary today, sustainability is at the top for all of the mining companies. One of the things that currently within supply chain that we're seeing, and this is an IBM application, solution, MRO-IO, which is an inventory optimization solution, that you can actually manage your inventory, make sure you have the right inventory on site, such that you can, maximize the reliability of your operations. That is, part of it just in time, but also assurance in terms of having those parts. But now we're seeing the global supply chain issues that are currently going on. You've got companies that, I know this analytical models telling me I don't need this, but I don't know if I'm going to get it in 6 months.
We've had people coming to be on the show, and they're just like, we're not ready right now. And I know it's a supply chain issue. Like, they're like, we don't even want to talk about anything right now. We're just trying to get nuts and bolts to our shop.
Yeah. So, and I think when, talking the big picture, if you've got your value chain of operations going across, and then you've got supply chain on a vertical feeding that all the way across, you start to get this large integrated picture of how complex a mining operation is actually going to be if you want to be running efficiently. And every time you solve one problem, what is the ripple and cascading effect of how it's going to affect someone else? And that's kind of what gets me excited about this.
I guess that's the other question then. Do you actually enjoy it? Like, for me, I'm when you're telling me, I'm like, oh my God, like overwhelming because I haven't been, I've worked because I've been on the equipment supply side, so I haven't actually been in that operating mind. So it seems a little overwhelming. Do you enjoy it? You're sitting there and it's hours of information coming in and pages and pages. And do you enjoy that experience?
I think what I enjoy is actually kind of easy way out, but the people that I'm working with, the clients that I'm working with, they seem to enjoy their job. I enjoy my job. I enjoy trying to solve these complex problems and actually bring in technology. And I'll be honest, when I moved over to IBM, history kind of in the mine planning, mine engineering space, it was a vertical curve for me in terms of understanding how technology can actually be brought in. Yeah. But I was fortunate that, I did have experience in optimization, simulation, analytics, that I was able to understand the complexities of the mining challenges. And to be honest, that was one of my key reasons coming over to IBM is, having built these simulation optimization models, I was like, I like doing this, but I want someone else who's better at this to build these models than myself. So I'm like, how about 10,000 data scientists? Working. That sounds nice.
Okay, so we play a contest on the show that you have to. Can you name 20 companies that? No, but you've got. We're going to bring it up on the screen. There's just a ton of companies that you've worked with in the space. Do you want to pick out a couple and just highlight them?
Well, maybe speak maybe a little more generality, just because I'm always cautious in terms of who IBM's working with. There's competitive advantage. Yeah, so these are companies that IBM has either worked with in the past or currently. I think when I think about where IBM is bringing value, historically it was maybe in the back office, bringing your SAP, success factors, some of these off the shelf products as implementations, or even selling the hardware. Yeah. Now more so on cloud services, how we're actually we work with AWS, we work with Azure, we'll work with a lot of the cloud service providers as well as IBM Cloud. But I think really the vast resources that we have is really where we can provide value. And I'll maybe give an example to kind of demonstrate this. So I was working with a client last year, and they have operations in Brazil. So they're doing an ERP implementation, but the tax structure in Brazil is very complex, very unique, not similar to many other locations worldwide. Fortunately, within IBM, we have tax specialists in Brazil. They have operations in Chile. They have surface operations. They have underground operations. So how can you normalize that, data set and performance and understand how that operation is competitively performing? Another operation they had was in Europe, which is looking at expansion. So now we need an ERP system that had the scalability to meet their needs, as well as an operation which was, getting close to the end of its mining life. So now you've got all these different challenges and you're trying to build one centralized system. So it's really about having all these people kind of around the globe that are experts in the various areas of the business, and then having, we'll call it the mining or supply chain maintenance specialists that are really kind of industry professionals and pulling all of that together. So, we've got a lot of, kind of different names and clients we've worked with, but it's to me more about how you actually, can provide services all over the globe and still have that, same look and feel. And I think that's where we've been able to provide value.
I think just to wrap up, do you think it's even gotten started? Are we at the beginning of what is going to be able to be tracked and managed and integrated and optimized? Are we, if it was a 50-year period of really when that all started, are we on year 10? Are we on year 30? I don't think we're on year 30. I'm pretty sure. I mean, how crazy is it going to get, do you think?
I think what is possible is nearly unlimited. Yeah. Because we're seeing it, SpaceX, being able to develop space programs, in a couple of decades where, NASA and others been around, for 50 plus years. So I think following, other industries, the mining space can definitely be on that exponential path. Where I see the biggest challenge is very foundational: data collection, data quality, the stuff that's not overly exciting. Everyone wants to build the advanced analytics. They want to have the autonomous systems. All of those things are enabled by that foundational data platform, and getting that right, I think, is really going to be key to the maturity and where we are on that journey. I still think we're early stages of the potential.
I'm glad you said it, because that's also how I feel. I feel that it's like there's these almost worlds out there that we haven't quite learned how to integrate. We're getting there, and it's getting better and better. But I think it needs a real commitment now. Like a company, I'm sure looking at some of these companies you work with, there has to be a real commitment to integrate and to overlay and take all the information. It's not just, you can't just flip a switch and do it. It takes at very minimum months to do it.
Very much so. And I think maybe one of the challenges that you run into is, competing corporate objectives. I mean, one of the
Right, yeah.
products that we implemented in the Pilbara region in Australia, you had one primary company, but then there was, part ownerships from various companies. How much investment are you going to get when you got a 20% interest, and then you're
Right.
pulling these other investors along?
Yeah.
So really trying to make sure as a company you're moving in the right direction, and then what your industry partnerships, who you're working with, are they moving in that same direction with you as well?
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on the show and kind of walking us through it. And I mean, I think there's probably about 10 shows or something that we could probably do on pretty much every topic we touched on, but I do appreciate it. I will say, I know that we're focusing on an IBM consulting, but as soon as I found out you were on the show, now I just see IBM everywhere. I got to pay for something. IBM. Like, okay, it's like following me now. So no, it's very exciting. And I know this, I mean, this is only, I really do think we're only at the beginning. So there's going to be lots more to talk about, hopefully in the future.
No, thank you very much for having me. Actually, this is pretty fun. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Okay. Thank you for watching the episode, everybody. We covered a lot of ground. I guess some of these episodes, I hope I got to kind of keep up with Nick a little bit, because it's a lot. So thank you for watching. Please keep suggesting guests. When you see shows like this that are, talking about sometimes quite complex things within the mining industry, a lot of guests are coming back on the show. You can let us know questions that you were like screaming at me to ask and that I just missed. It happens all the time. So please let us know the next time they come on to get your questions in there, I should say. Thank you for watching the episode. We will see you on the next episode of Mining Now.